What's another problem that we see a lot of facilitators having is you desire more confidence in being a facilitator, and sometimes it feels difficult or exhausting when you're facilitating. So what are some stories that you have had that you can share with our viewers?
Well, I experienced that really from the beginning when I made the leap from participant, actually as a Cuddle Party facilitator, right? I started out as a participant, and I had my mind blown, and and so I had to bring it to Chicago, where I was living at the time, and so I moved from being, a participant to being a host, which is also a participant, and then I did the training, and I was just so passionate about it. And then when I started facilitating, like those fears came up, and the trying to get everything right, and worrying about what other people thought, worrying about everyone else's experience, and feeling exhausted at the end of the cuddle parties, and feeling drained and full of self-doubt. But I learned as I went to lean into the trust. And I think as a trainer of facilitators, what I teach that I learned by leaning into it and leaning into it and leaning into it, right, is the container. Is that the container is so strong that, and Cuddle Party has such an amazing container because of its structure and the format, that it's consistent, and it has these rules and guidelines and the welcome circle and the exercises. And that when I just focused on setting the tone and being in my own place of grounded, and being in my integrity, and being in my intention to really share the things that I was passionate about, everything just started to flow. And as I went on and did that, and did the experiment, I call it running the experiment and collecting the data, seeing that I could let go and let go and let go. And people were like, the less work I did, almost, the more participants were like, you're amazing. The space is great. And then I started leaning into my facilitators and realizing they had, not my facilitators, my assistants, my assistant facilitators, and that they had their own brilliance and skill, and that together, when we held the space, I could let go more, and the space was stronger. And so it was just kind of building on that. I had so many miraculous experiences with trusting the container and the community.
Yeah, thank you, Madeline. Yeah, creating that sort of resiliency and within yourself to know that you can trust the container that we've created as an organization, that it supports you as the facilitator to continue letting go. Yeah, it's amazing. Adam, how about you? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, one of the things that helped me the most when I was dealing with my I'm not good enough complex was a dear friend, Len, who was the trainer at the time, who's not with us these days, but I remember him so fondly. And his simple statement to me was, do a shitty job. And it sounds, like, what? It's like, but having the permission to not be perfect kept me from doing a lot of the things, from getting all up in my head and worried, et cetera, because I was just going to do it. And if it came out poorly, it came out poorly. That's a judgment, and it will get different another time and better another time. And because we'll do that as a facilitator, you'll lose your place. Guaranteed. At some point along the line. And I've got a secret for you. When that happens, this is probably the most important tool in the facilitator's toolbox. Take a deep breath in. Let it out with a sigh. This gives you as a facilitator a chance to think, where am I? What's going on? What do I do next? And it resets the whole room. Everybody who may have had their thoughts in different places, everybody now has done a unifying thing. You've got the room back and you're ready to go. So 2 things. Give yourself permission to do a job that you would like to do differently. And when you find yourself lost, bring the room together with a deep breath.
Yeah, that deep breath, right? Brings you back to center, grounds you, and it also supports with everybody sort of coming back, everybody in the room, right, that you're facilitating to come back.
Everybody calms down.
Yeah, it's amazing. That gave me chills.
I know, it's such a simple thing. And I kid you not, it might be the most important tool you have.
Yeah.
It's just that one thing. Take a deep breath, let it out with a sigh. That's so nice. Let's do it twice. Then you got you could really, if you've made the mistake that some new facilitators always do, which is to put the welcome circle on index cards, and they're thinking, oh, I can just flip through these and drop them on the floor. It's like, oh no, what do I do now? You all breathe. I'll get back to you in a minute.
Lovely. That's lovely. And I'll say one of the things I learned facilitating cuddle parties that just delights me because it's kind of a superpower is that when I have a moment that I wouldn't have chosen or doesn't seem to be my best, that when I name it, like, oh, I've lost my place, or, oh, that was a mistake, or, oh, I didn't mean it to come out that way, or whatever, to just name it in the moment. As a facilitator, that we're always setting the tone, like being the lead in the room. And that gives everyone else in the room permission to be human, like this explicit permission to, I notice everybody else kind of relaxed when and that's such a wonderful thing to stop believing that that's a problem and to just be like, oh, that just happened. And gosh, for me, that just gave me so much freedom and trust and joy and a sense of connection also with the people in the room.
That's beautiful. How would you, so I'm going to sort of add on and ask your question to this. So if somebody feels they don't feel confident, right? How would you invite them to feel comfortable in outing themselves?
Well, we would role play that probably in a workshop and just say, hey, what would that sound like? So for me, even just saying, oh, I'm nervous right now. I notice I'm nervous right now and my heart's beating a little fast and I'm really happy I can share that with all of you. Now that's something I would say as I was starting a workshop. If it was true, if I'm feeling that in the moment, and to ground into that. So I think that's what I would do with a participant, really find somebody back and forth to sort of say, and I like to name what's happening in my body. You're noticing putting my hand on my body and feeling that, practicing that embodiment and being present with somebody and being open that way. And just practice it is also to get it, the experience, not just in theory, but the kinesthetic learning of it. And then, practicing that in a workshop with a facilitator or with another participant, and then taking that out to practicing it in your life, in conversations with people in low stakes situations.
Beautiful. Yes. Thank you for that.
I just wanted to add on to that. In our live facilitator training, which I hope you get a chance to do, One of the things that we do frequently in that is we stop and invite the participants, the future facilitators, notice what's going on inside of you, what's going on inside of the room. And we kind of, in the image of the Wizard of Oz, we pull back the curtain so we can see what's going beyond, underneath that. And that kind of reflection, self-reflection and reflection on a room is something that we teach explicitly in the facilitator training, but it has a very powerful impact on you when you're facilitating a group for a cuddle party or whatever it is that you want to be facilitating. It's a sort of a meta place where you're looking down with a God's eye view of what's going on.
I noticed I want to share another tool right now.
Nice. You're getting another tool.
It's a bonus tool. Well, this is something that we also use in Foundations of Facilitation. It's called Zones of Awareness. And it's an exercise you can do anytime throughout your day. And it's nice sometimes to create a little container for yourself. Like you can set a timer for 3 minutes. And then the mantra in my head, or you can say it out loud and do it internally, is, in this moment, I notice blank. And then you fill in the blank. In this moment, I notice, fill in the blank. And it's just a beautiful meditation of every time I come to the end of that phrase to be really present and notice. Is it something is it a sound in the room that my senses are picking up? Is it a thought in my head that's present? Is it, my breath coming in? Is it some feeling inside my body? And it's such a beautiful way, one, to become calm and present, and also to build that skill of awareness that Adam was just talking about, which is another superpower as a facilitator.